Good evening and welcome to Thursdays with NAMI. My name is Peg Morrison. I'll be your host tonight. I am the Assistant Executive Director of NAMI North Carolina. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness North Carolina. And I'm so glad y'all are here tonight. Each September, we honor Suicide Prevention Month. And this year, we're letting it flow right into October because we've had so many awesome people who are willing to share their stories. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. One of these folks is Tyler Rimar, our guest tonight. He is a suicide attempt survivor and thriver. After a period of drinking and depression, he wanted to end his life in December of 2020. Thankfully, he lived, but he did sustain a head injury. Within a few months, he was giving testimony at his church. Today, he has 21 months of sobriety, and he finds a lot of joy in painting. If you're with us on Zoom or Facebook, you can see paintings in his background, beautiful beach scenes, birds. There's a beautiful lighthouse. But he's here to share his journey with us, and we will be circling with Tyler in just a moment. As usual, the first part of our show will be an interview with our guest. Partway through, we'll show a video of the week, and then we'll spend time taking questions from you, members of our virtual audience, live and on Facebook. All right, now we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors. Thursdays with NAMI is funded in part by the North Carolina Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services under the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services as part of the Federal Community Mental Health Block Grant Fund. We appreciate them so very much. And now, without any further ado, welcome, Tyler.
Hi, how's everybody?
Yeah, I think everyone's good. Let's go with that. We always like to know the background of our guests, and I'm really grateful to you for being here with us tonight and sharing your story. Maybe you can tell us about yourself in a nutshell.
Yeah, so I grew up, I lived, I consider a normal life, I had a lot of friends in the neighborhood. We always would play video games and skateboard growing up. Once I moved out of my parents' house, I went to school for a trade school, and I was in that field for 10 plus years. And I worked hard every day of my life and to get to where I'm at, and I don't plan on quitting. I don't have any quit in me, so I'm a very easygoing person too.
Mm-hmm. And your trade was welding.
Yes, yeah, welding, the fun world of metal work.
A lot of creativity in that. It seems like maybe that's a theme for you.
Yeah, you really do get real close with that metal, and you get to manipulate that metal puddle, and it's fun. If you can handle being on fire at the same time as you're burning sparks everywhere, just to paint a picture for you.
It sounds intriguing. I don't know. It's hard for me to picture myself doing that, but I love the results. So you've shared about having mental health and addiction challenges. How old were you when the struggle began?
I was just talking with my mom about that, and I remember being young as in elementary school where I had struggles to kind of just having behavior problems and being depressed in middle school, and just not finding what I was good at. I wasn't really good in all the book smarts and everything. So I would act out and try to get some attention because I wasn't getting it through my grades, I guess. So I grew up with mental illness running in my family, and for each person, each individual is it's different, and you know best how you've felt over years or times, So to answer your question, yeah, I grew up with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that resonates with me too. I remember having times of anxiety and depression, even as far back as grade school and very young. Because I live with mental health challenges as well. And I'm in AA. So that's something that I can relate to. Um, and so along those lines, I think for me, I had some early life trauma that may have led to the mental health challenge. It's hard because it is in my family as well. But to me, it seems like the trauma came first. Do you feel like your depression came first, or was it more drinking and pills?
No, it was the depression, and then the drinking just was so easily get to. It seems like the smoking pot and drinking and all that was easily it was around, whether I mean school bus you could say or whatever, um,
Yeah.
but it was easily accessible.
Yeah, a lot of times I wonder if we didn't have the stigma that we have around mental illness, would people get help? Would people get appropriate help earlier instead of turning to alcohol or weed or whatever is available? Because it's not, people don't, people are more comfortable going the drugs and alcohol route. I think they feel less stigma. They feel less, you don't have to make an appointment or embarrass yourself or say anything about yourself. You're just partying. You know what I mean? Do you ever see it that way?
Yeah, and it's that instant gratification that was never fulfilled, and it takes a sober mind to really pay attention to it, I guess, which mine was far from back then. Um,
Sure.
and so, yeah, I felt like the doctors didn't really understand me. I've seen my fair share of health professionals trying to find the right one, a good fit for me. And some have, yeah, I've had really good feedback. It's just, I don't know. It's a tricky question.
Hmm. Just one of those things I wonder about in my own experience and for other folks. Um, and so you went through a really tough time, as I mentioned in the intro, in 2020. Can you tell us what happened leading up to that and on the day of your attempt?
Yeah, so I have been working on quitting drinking, and I have been in and out of my Alcoholics Anonymous rooms a few times. Once I picked back up, I would get back sober for a few months, and I had been drinking the day of my attempt, and I had also been taking prescribed medication, and one of them was to help me quit drinking, but I was drinking at the same time, and that had a big influence with the medication change. Alcohol is obviously a depressant, and taking antidepressants with that is not a good idea.
Mm,
Um, and it marked the long journey of my recovery, and I'm happy to be here today from that. I have a good story, and I feel like I could help others just feeling like they don't have a voice. There's no easy answer to it. And so, starting with each day at a time, you have another chance to, find your reason.
mhm. Yeah, one day at a time is definitely the way to go. And I really appreciate your opening up about all that you've been through. I know how hard it is to be that, to open up your story and open up your heart. Are there things that you want people to know who are struggling right now?
Yeah, yeah, there is help. Sometimes it has to get worse to get better, but there's always help out there, and if you want help or not. You have to find out what is going to work best for you, and just keep going. For me, it's my faith in God, and my surrounding myself with family and the support of good friends. really goes a long way. Peer counselors are excellent to talk to, and there's a lot of those. When I don't think I really knew what a peer counselor was until I started going through this recovery process.
Mhm.
And I don't hesitate to call one. I'll call them just because I felt bad, and for 15 minutes, and then a couple hours go by, and I'll reach out to them and just tell them, hey, look, I was feeling bad, but I'm okay now. But I
Mm,
just wanted to talk to somebody about it, you know? And
mm.
something doesn't have to be terrifying for you to call them.
Right. Yeah, I think that's an excellent piece of wisdom is we don't want to wait till we're terrified to call. You don't, if sometimes we can nip that anxiety in the bud by reaching out. And it sounds like you have a lot of tools in your toolbox now that maybe you didn't have a couple of years ago, a support network, friends, family at church, and a lot of creative outlets.
Yeah, definitely. So,
Yeah. And you mentioned some of the different meds you were taking on that day of your attempt and that you were drinking. Do you feel like you would have made the attempt without that? I mean, was it kind of just an unfortunate set of circumstances on that day, if you don't mind me asking?
yeah, so my depression had been there for some time. Obviously, it wasn't just,
Yeah.
it wasn't just, I don't know the easy answer to that question. I'm sorry. Um, no, I wouldn't have attempted if I had been drinking, and if I would have reached out to my doctors a little bit more and been more honest. I wasn't really honest with them, and it wasn't an in-depth conversation that I've had with my doctors. Normally, you'll see them once a month or sometimes every 3 months, and by the time I would get to my doctor's appointments, I would be feeling fine. I had been up, went to work, cut out of work to go see my doctor, and I didn't keep a journal that I would be able to reference for my doctor. Um, you know, so that play a factor of not knowing what exactly was affecting me, or being able to pinpoint it and prevent it from happening.
Hmm. You've made a comment that there are no easy answers and that um, you grew up with these feelings and we've talked about how much easier it is to pick up a drink and turn to some kind of substance use because you don't have to label yourself, you don't have to make an appointment, it's just right there in your environment and it feels and is perceived as a natural thing to do. So it sounds like you were kind of just on that road that so many of us are as young people where you don't have the literacy, you don't have the language or the tools that could have helped you avoid a lot of things. And that I relate to that a lot.
Yeah, we're paving the way. Mental health wasn't really recognized for a long time, and I still don't think that um, everybody recognizes it for what it is. Where you have to nurture something, or something might be missing for somebody, and just for them to have that one friend or have that one solution to their problem, it goes a really long way.
Yeah, that's so true. Just having one person who understands where you don't feel judged, that can be the difference between night and day, life and death. So absolutely. Um, Tell us about your art in your recovery. You've got a lot that we can see back there, and there's a link that's going to be posted in the chat and on Facebook where people can look at your work. And I believe some of it's for sale. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I spent a lot of time with my artwork. I enjoy it. It's a very good outlet for me. With my anxiety, even the smallest brush strokes, I can make a mistake, but instantly I'm wanting to perfect my artwork. And I spend a lot of good time and I invest my emotions into my artwork. Actually, it's good for my stress.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it from start to finish, and a lot of times I don't go off of a tutorial. I just paint I use my imagination and go from there. And I've experienced with the mixing of the colors and the brush stroking and just learning the way of the artist.
Mm. So I'm looking at photos behind you and I'm seeing images of birds and beaches, a lighthouse, beautiful blues and yellows, sort of gold colors. Is there one image that you can describe that is especially important to you?
Well, the volcano right above my shoulder right there, I spent a lot of good time on that, and I had to get just the right shade of yellow and orange, and I went over that, probably spent 10 hours working on that one.
Mm,
Um, so, and the lighthouse was I had a good friend come over, and I was starting it up and I didn't know a direction. And he gave me some good ideas and I incorporated all of them into the lighthouse. But I really like the two swans. That's one that piqued my creativity the most. I didn't know what I was going to paint. I didn't think I could paint a bunch of good birds, and uh, it turned out really good.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, so check out Tyler's work on Instagram. It's Tyler Rimar Acrylics. If you Google that, it'll pop up for you and you want to check that out. Um, so what brought about your giving testimony and sharing your story at your church? It seems like you were able to do that pretty quickly after the dark times.
Yeah, being in the hospital bed for a couple months will give you a good chance to meditate and talk with your maker
Mm,
and see what direction you want to go in life. What I had went through, I had seen all the sadness that comes along with it and the better days that should come from it. And so there's a lot more better days now. So I'm very thankful for that. And I wouldn't want anybody just to feel like they're at that lowest point and not be able to have a solution to their problem. And I felt like I had no voice when I had done what I did. And for me to just speak my mind, I feel like that can make an impact on anybody, just in general. And
mm.
I'm only one person, but word can travel as such. And here I am with you on live stream, and I think it's great. I think it's great to help others.
I really do too, especially since you and I both had that experience of struggling and not really having any language, not having any idea of where to go or what was wrong. And the more people have conversations like this, I think the more the lights are turning on and people do have hope and they do hear things and learn and have options. So yeah, I appreciate your being here so much. Um, you wrote a comment about birds. You were sharing some of your writing with me, and it seemed so poetic to me. Mother Nature has a tune for the blues. The rhythm of the world passes by as birds chirp and migrate across the world. They strum the chords of my heart. Tell us about your writing.
Yeah, I get I get a little poetic side to me, and I will write from time to time. I don't know, it's just natural. It comes out
Mhm.
smoothly like that, and it feels great to me. Like I've always been an artist, and being able to create something like that, it feels peaceful.
Mm. We've just got a comment from Facebook from Marie. God has big plans for you, Tyler. So thank you for sharing that. It's a wonderful,
Thank
wonderful
you,
vote of
Marie.
support. Yeah, I love that. Do you write for yourself? Are you going to publish? Is that unknown at this point?
Well, I have, funny you ask, I've written a lot in the past. It's just finding the time to edit and to put all that into a organized book, you know. But yeah, it would be in the making.
Sure.
I have a few pages written out from, I just want to have carry the right message with it and look the best I can when I get to that point. So
Hmm. Writing takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
yeah, and then you get so much information and you just want to simplify it and yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying here tonight. Similar paths, I guess. Um, so what do you say to folks who are feeling hopeless and suicidal today?
There's hope. You're not alone. Look around you. Look for your solution to that problem that you're having. You know, there's always a solution, and it's not going out with
Hmm.
uh like that. You know, you can always find uh, take time to smell the roses and be yourself and be honest. The more honest you are, the further it will carry you.
Hmm. And
That's the best advice I could really say.
honesty is very freeing. You mentioned in your younger days, you didn't feel that you had a voice. How did you come to find your voice?
Just the support from my family and seeing people that care, because
Mm,
people do really care. So it's when that situation comes up that you know people care,
mm,
and being able to recognize it is hard to do in such a fast-paced world when you're in a hurry to get a lot of this and that, and you know, it's just we're always in a rush and a hurry, so we don't slow down to
mhm,
enjoy some things.
mhm. All right. What else do people need to know about mental health and recovery?
It's good. It doesn't have to be all bad. When if you make a breakthrough with your doctors, it's good. It's really supporting, and you can learn techniques that will carry a lifetime with you.
Mhm. It seems like a lot of people, as part of their recovery, find others who are walking a similar difficult road. They kind of learn to find people who get recovery, who speak that language, and they find recovery and hope that way. And but you might also lose friends when you become more authentic and start speaking that language. Did you find that to be the case?
No, because I always chose my friends wisely. I wouldn't. I mean, I can think of some people that come to mind when you say that, but I never lost them as a friend if they were never really a friend.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, if they were really your friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. What gives you hope?
Uh, just every day when I wake up, I have something to be grateful for. I have my God, I have my family, my son. He's a wonderful boy. He's 15 months old right now, and he's experiencing and learning a lot of important things in life that he needs to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, your son was born, he's still a little guy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's running and yeah, he's talking and learning to say stuff back. And
Oh, what's his name?
Michael,
Michael. Oh, Michael Reimer. That's beautiful. Um, hmm. I've seen pictures of him on Facebook. He looks very adorable.
yeah, he is a cutie. Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up the interview part of the show?
Uh, nothing that comes to mind. I'm just glad to be here to be a voice for somebody that might not have one yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're gonna pivot away from our question and answer right now. Before we move to our video of the week, I want to give a big shout out to all of our helpers behind the scenes, including Executive Director Gary Kreitz, our App State intern, Caitlin Rita, and Gail Pruitt, our psychiatric nurse. Of course, we're saving our biggest gratitude for Tyler Reimer for sharing his story with us and his time tonight. Now we've got a video of the week. Usually for our video of the week, we go with something kind of lighthearted, take a little break from the serious topic. So this is our former mascot, Roxy Morrison, in video form. Oh my goodness, she was adorable. Wish they could live forever. That was my beagle, Roxy. No,
Nice.
Fox. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just said nice.
Yeah, that was Roxy, our beagle. She was our mascot for a while. And yeah, she passed away from cancer. Gosh, I guess it's a year and a half ago now. But she's over the Rainbow Bridge and still with us in spirit. Okay. Now we're ready to take your questions. We've got a couple in the queue already. And we will take as many as we can. Just type your question in the comments in Facebook or in the Q&A box in Zoom. And another comment from very encouraging Marie on Facebook. You are rocking this, Tyler. Proud of you and proud to be your friends. Nice. You've got good friends. Thanks for being there, Marie. Okay, question from Gary. If you could go back and talk to your 13-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Me? Oh boy. I don't know what I could tell a 13-year-old me. Caught me off guard with that one.
Yeah.
I guess just worry about your job life because it comes up fast once you get to being 18 and grown and you want to move out and have something in plan where you can be prepared for reality outside of your parents' house.
Yeah. Yeah. It sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes fast.
It does. All right. And anonymous question. What do you feel now when you feel depression coming on?
Me, I will feel very overwhelmed and just sluggish, and it's the first tale when I have it, and I like to isolate. I like to just get in my own little corner and get my way of thinking, and uh, but I work my way out of it. I go to my painting most of the times. His first go to is my painting or my phone, call somebody.
Okay. So you kind of notice that you're stepping away and not wanting to be around people.
Oh
That's
yeah,
your, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I notice that I just start feeling very impatient. I start feeling like everything is stressing me out. Everything is a bother. And then I know I need to rest and I need to focus on self-care a little more. All right. From Facebook, how old are you? I ask because I have a son with schizoaffective disorder and he struggles.
Yeah, so I just had a birthday. I'm 33 this month.
Hey, happy birthday.
Yay. Yeah, so it's definitely a journey. You know, but you can make it through it. You're
Mhm.
not alone.
Do you think it's tougher for young men to ask for help? Because there's that idea, that stereotype of the strong male, the strong silent type.
Oh yeah, or just going to another man and him not having advice.
Right. Yeah. If you talk to the wrong person about mental health, you'll get a pretty frosty vibe in my experience. I feel like we all learned that one the hard way. Yeah, I always hope young people can find someone they trust, and maybe it's a family member, maybe it's someone at school, maybe it's a friend. Um, but yeah, thank you for that question. Some questions about your painting. Your acrylics are great. Do you ever try oil or watercolor?
I have not. I've been looking into a class for oil painting basics, and
Mm.
I'm going to try that out and see about where I get with that.
Are you self-taught?
Yes, everything I've watched YouTube videos or messed it up, and then I like about acrylics, certain parts, you can blend your color and then you can kind of adjust it as you go.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how oil paintings work. I don't know if you can go back over a darker color with oil with a lighter color. I'm not
Hmm.
sure.
Okay. Um, Tyler, in your bio, this is the next question. It was mentioned that you do welding. Is that another creative hobby or your career?
That's that's been my career for 10 plus years, and I made a good living doing it. I worked a lot of hours and put in a lot of effort, and I know a lot about a little bit because there's so much to know.
Hmm. Okay. And next question, how did you like the NAMI peer-to-peer class? And I should explain what that is. NAMI offers an 8-week course for folks with any kind of mental health challenge, and it explains what mental health challenges are, what are the diagnoses, and how to cope.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed going there, and I learned a couple things that I thought were really interesting that stuck out to me. So if you ever have time to sign up, you can register. I'm not sure the guidelines. If you, it's like an 8-week class.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Good. It's open to anyone who's 18 years or older, who has experienced symptoms of a mental health condition. So it's up to you. We don't ask for a doctor's note or anything like that. It's up to you if you feel like you qualify. And we also have support groups. All of this stuff is free. NAMI offers free classes and support groups to folks who have a mental health condition and their loved ones. Um, I should also mention that we have a fabulous support group for survivors of suicide attempts. It's just been around for a few months. We've got some awesome training for the volunteers, and it's a good group. They're getting lots of participation, and it allows people to speak freely on a topic where, you know, people worry because, oh, maybe I need to say content warning or trigger alert. Um, and that is very important, but it's also important to have a space where you can talk about it.
Yeah, that's something that I was a part of getting it up and running as well. And I'm happy to go in there. I feel safe. There's times when I will call the NAMI line because I'm not feeling well, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It just seems like it's hard to do. Like the phone is your enemy, but it's not. You can always call, and it's easy to do with technology now. You can Zoom off your phone and join.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't even have to leave your home. You can just log on to Zoom and visit a support group. We have a bunch of them on the NAMI North Carolina website, a list of all our virtual offerings, and that's naminc.org. And you can visit them no matter where you are in the state. If I'm in Wilmington, I can visit a group in Charlotte. So we'd love to see you there.
And you do have to register beforehand before going for the subsidy.
That's right. Thank you. But you can find that on our website, naminc.org. You can find a link to it. It's a NAMI Wake program. NAMI Wake covers the Raleigh area. Question from Gary. Have you ever thought of using your welding in a metalworking art?
Yes, I have. And yeah, I've set the goal pretty high. I would like to make something where the sun hits it and it casts a shadow of some kind of picture. And I don't know how much patience I have to make that. But I've seen it where they take a bunch of junk metal and they tack it all up, and it's actually a sculpture, but it's also, by the way the sun reflects or casts a shadow, you can see a image there as well.
That is fascinating. That does sound like it would be very complex to design. Yeah. Follow-up question from Gary, your fellow welder. Did you do wire welding or rod?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of it all. I've done flux core, pulse MIG, straight MIG, stick rods. Yeah, I like that the most. And TIG welding, I wasn't necessarily big on TIG, but I worked with a lot of pipe welders that they would TIG weld every day, all day.
And you're saying TIG weld? I'm not following that part.
Yeah, it's got a tungsten inert gas.
Okay, interesting. And wire welding or rod, does that pertain to the circumference or the width of the materials you're working with?
No, that goes along with it, but rod is just like a stick rod, something like 3 times the length of a pen is stick rod. And then wire is just a wire feeder, or also called MIG. But there's different processes for each one.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds like there's a lot to it, of course. I like this question from Gail. What happens to you emotionally when you work on your art?
A lot of just feeling content.
Hmm.
It depends on the day, really. I can crank the radio up and paint away, or I'll have my Mozart going and just very calmly in the zone.
Hmm.
Or I'll be rocking it and painting. Yeah.
That sounds fun. Rock and roll music or Mozart. Got the
Yeah.
whole gamut. I like it. I find when I have a difficult day, I love to write. I'll write poetry. And then I feel, after I'm done, I feel like, okay, I made something kind of beautiful out of something ugly. Is that part of your process too?
No, I always feel like it's a it's a lot of work. I put a lot of effort up, so yeah, there's a few of them that stand out where I'm like, they're kind of ugly, but for the majority of it, I'm really happy with what I make.
Yeah, I think I didn't explain myself very well. Like maybe I'll write about something traumatic or write about something painful, but And that's the ugly part, that all those tough emotions. But then when I sit back and look at the poem, it's like, oh, I did something good with that. How did that happen? That it's sort of a pleasant
Uh,
surprise almost.
yeah, yeah, I have that happen too, where I get caught up in my emotions while I'm painting, and then I move from one side of the painting to the other side and revisit it or whatever have you.
Yeah, there's definitely a feeling of sort of evolving and transformation with artwork. Like I knew an art therapist who described it as making structure out of chaos. You know, it's sort of you're building something. You're building something that's beautiful.
Yeah, and with painting, a lot of times you make your foundation or you block it in, and then you go back and add all your small details, which for you with your writing, I could see it being where you write out the idea or the main goal or purpose of your writing, and then you can adjust the words to rhyme or rhythm or a little bit more as you go back over it.
Yeah, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll write from an outline, kind of just get the structure down and then fill in the detail as I go along. Another Q&A question here on Zoom. Other than art, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh, I like to be outside,
Mm.
nature walking, birds watching. Um, I enjoy my Netflix and Amazon Prime account, of course. And believe it or not, I like to work if I can. You know, we're at home and you're bored, you have nothing to do. Sometimes we take work for granted.
Mm. Yeah, are you able to work now?
Yeah, I work part time. It depends.
Oh,
So
that's
I
right. You work in an art store.
right, yes.
That's right.
So it depends on how demanding it is, and sometimes I call out of work because of pain. But
Mm.
um, yeah,
Yeah. It sounds like a treat to work in an art supply store if that's what you love and that's your passion. That's neat.
yeah, yeah, because I can see firsthand what we have, or if I'm low on supplies, I can always go spend a few minutes over in my art aisle and go ahead and do my pre-shopping before I get off work.
Yeah, nice. Um, we have a lull in the questions, so I'm going to make some quick announcements. There was a question in the registration file that about do I need to register each time, or can I register once for Thursdays with NAMI and use the same link? Right now, we ask you to register each time, but that is going to change. Starting after the first of the year, you'll be able to register one more time and use the same link after that. So we will be shifting that, which will make life more convenient as you enjoy Thursdays with NAMI. I also want to share our guest next week. Please come back and join us to meet Lavani Gilliard. She has a business, a clothing line with a focus on mental health and empowerment. I think it's neat the way more and more businesses, whether it's shoes or personal products or clothing, you know, they put a cause to it. They make it meaningful based on the story of the owner. And that's what Lavani has done. She wants to have more conversations about invisible disabilities, especially in the low income arena. She wants people to see a different face and speak from her experience coming from that part of the community. So join us next week to meet Lavani. She's very neat. Also, please fill out our survey if you're on Zoom. When you leave the webinar, the your monitor will magically have a survey appear, and fill that out. It just takes a couple minutes and it helps us improve over time. It helps us show our funders what we do. So it makes a big difference, and I really appreciate your feedback. If you'd like to be a speaker, go ahead and put your name and number in there and we will talk about that. I'd love to hear from you. Is there anything else that you want to add, Tyler? Anything that's sort of come to you since the start of the show that you want to be sure to share?
No, I'm just glad to be here in good company. So yeah.
Yeah. I meant to ask you about your faith. You've had a faith journey along with your recovery journey. Tell us about how those intertwine and what works for you.
Well, faith can be one of those things where you take it and put it where you need it the most. Um, wherever you're battling, what prayers stick out most for you. To be quite honest, I just love listening to the preacher preach, and they have a good message, and it's great. Um, so I've been to a couple of different churches, and when I moved, uh, there's great churches out there. You just have to
Mm,
find a good fit for you.
right. Yeah, I have to agree with you. There's something about having that uplifting message, and a lot of times in my car, I'll listen to Christian rock because it's all about accepting yourself and forgiving yourself and opening your heart to faith. It's all positive all the time.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful that we can watch these things on YouTube. I've a lot of time where in my recovery, I wasn't able to make it to church on Sunday mornings, and I would watch sermon back to back to back, whether they have a 4 or 5 week long sermon about John, and I could watch it all back to back, which is great.
Mm, absolutely. Comments from the chat box. We're so glad too that you're here, and you are good company from Gail. So getting some good feedback there.
All
Question
right.
from Marie on Facebook. Did you have faith prior to your attempts?
I did know that I wanted to follow Jesus Christ, and I wasn't able to because of the clouded mind and the troubled thinking. It kind of held me back from really grasping the message.
Sure. And is that because you were self-medicating? Was that why your mind was foggy?
Yeah, yeah, that, and I just never made time for it.
Mm, right. It does take some commitment. And this is where I usually say at NAMI, we embrace all paths to recovery. So if that's Jesus for you or Buddha or Allah, we support that. And if it's not having a religious belief or a spiritual belief, we also support that. Whatever works for your mental health and in your recovery is wonderful. So just want to make sure I put that out there. And I think that's about it for tonight. Yeah, still getting good comments in the chat. When you are depressed, it does take a lot of energy to be involved in a church. Good point, Gary. Um, yeah, but I think we're kind of at that point. We go for an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the flow and the questions we get. But I really want to thank you, Tyler. You have so much light around you and like literally so much color, but you really bring an uplifting and inspiring message, and I appreciate your sharing it with us tonight.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, if you're out there and you're feeling alone, you're feeling like the outsider, you're in the dark, please give us a call at NAMI, or call your friends, your church, someone you trust. We've been there, we understand, and we'd like to help you find a better path, get you to a point where you're feeling better. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.